Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is October 30th, and today's episode is going to talk about Saturn Zero Aftermath, of course. That we'll be talking about that for a while, I'm sure. We're also going to be talking about the rewards tree version 10, which is needed to get everyone's rewards in the next round. And we're going to be talking about the rETH growth incubator and a lot of other things as well. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, first things first, we are going to be talking about Saturn Zero and the aftermath of it. So here we have the deposit pool, and the size of the deposit pool is 4,665 ETH. Now, I was kind of sure that this would be zero by now. Sadly, it's not zero by now. And the main reason for it not being zero is that there have been a few exits of validators. Now, I'm not sure why those people are exiting or what's going to happen after them. One of the exits that we had from last week, from just around Saturn Zero, that person came back in without their RPL because they used their RPL to repay back their position on Aave. Now, it might be the case that other people are doing similar things, or maybe they just want to sell their RPL. I don't know. We haven't really seen too much evidence of that yet. But the fact is that it's not zero, but the activity has been really high for the deposit pool. Another thing that's actually happened is in the events, you'll start seeing that there's these transactions of people burning our ETH and getting ETH out of there. Now, what was happening, last week was that this was actually going through DEXs, right? The IMC pays for liquidity, and liquidity that we pay for kind of helps our ETH be liquid on the secondary market. Now, with the deposit pool having space in there, that means that can just go straight from the contract instead of going through the secondary market because there's no premium there anymore. So that's one of the things that we've been seeing. We've also been seeing bond reductions. We've also been seeing a whole lot of these burns, right? But also mini pool creations using credit and not that many new node operators coming online, sadly. And there might be some rationale behind that, being that, it takes time to set up a node. A lot of people might not have even known that Rocket Pool allows this because marketing didn't go into full effect until basically Saturn Zero actually launched. And then a whole lot of people were talking about it. We're going to talk about that in a minute as well. But what I'm seeing is there's been a few node operators who have come online, new node operators, but most of the activity so far is with existing node operators. What we're seeing is there's a lot of bond reductions that have happened, but also people who were already running nodes are adding validators to their nodes. So we can actually dig down into some of this data here. So Noshua thankfully was kind enough to provide some information this morning. So in terms of bond reductions, we've had 426 bond reductions so far. So that's just below 10% of all 16 ETH validators have bond reduced. Mini pools created. This is the really exciting part here, is 952 mini pools have been created, and mini pools created using credit, that's 365 of them. So there's around 50, 60 bond reductions that are still waiting to be reduced. And also, we've had about 525, more than that actually, 560 or so, nearly 600 actually, mini pools created by node operators, mostly who are already running. So that's just showing you, how things have changed. Now, in terms of the raw mini pools created number after Saturn Zero, that's approaching 1,000 mini pools now, and that's actually really interesting because the deposit pool size was 26,000 right around Saturn launch, and that is now down to less than 5,000. But we've actually had nearly 1,000 validators come online, which is 32,000 ETH. So the amount of ETH that's actually come into the protocol after Saturn Zero, it was greater than the size of the deposit pool, what it was, on Sunday. So this is absolutely fantastic. It's been really, really strong, and I think it's really cool to see. Let's actually talk about bond reductions. So some of you all who are listening might have had 16 ETH validators and now you are bond reducing. Ken here put a reminder out that there's multiple steps involved in bond reducing. So please be aware of that. And he says gas is low. You should remember to stake your mini pool credits that you have. So when you bond reduce, what happens is your one validator turns into two validators. Doesn't turn into two validators, sorry. It can eventually turn into two validators, but your stake in that validator gets reassigned. So instead of 16 ETH of that validator stake being yours, the Rocket Pool protocol changes the details, so only 8 of that is yours, and in return it gives you 8 ETH of credit. So it says this is your credit. So now you've got to then go and stake that credit to start a validator. So this is what Ken's saying. He says gas is low enough, go and stake your credits. Now, as Noshua pointed out, 365 of the validators from bond reductions were used. So there was around 60 bond reductions at that time that hadn't done that. That might be because the 12 hours hadn't been up, or just people weren't aware that they needed to do that. So we're going to have a look at the docs really quickly just to remind you all of the steps of bond reduction. So this is the sheet migrating 16 ETH mini pool to 8 ETH. I'm just going to talk about this bond reduction rule. So it says a bond reduction involves the following steps. You start the bond reduction, that's done by the node operator. There's a waiting period, the bond reduction scrub check, that allows the ODAO time to verify the bond reduction is legal and cancel any bond reductions that violate the rules. And then completing the bond reduction, and this is a second step done by the node operator. So here you can look at the documentation. It says that you begin the bond reduction by calling the command, and then you monitor the timer if you want, and then completing the bond reduction, then you say Rocket Pool mini pool reduce bond, and then that's the way that you can do that. Then you get results. Here's your output and what it looks like, and you notice how things have changed. Basically, your node deposit went from 16 ETH to 8 ETH, and then you get the amounts get allocated like that. So make sure that you're following these instructions here, and there's a deposit credit system that you can have a look at. So now say that you have a credit balance of 0, you have a single mini pool with 16 ETH, you can then migrate to 8 ETH bond. 8 ETH bond, yeah, this will result in 8 ETH that is no longer bonded. That 8 ETH will be placed in your credit balance. So say you want to create a second 8 ETH mini pool, now you need to run Rocket Pool node deposit. So you do the Rocket Pool node deposit, and then that will start a new validator for you. In the options, you'll only see the 8 ETH now, and then that will do that. If you want to see how much credit you have, you can do Rocket Pool node status, and that will tell you as well, and how it's all available. So definitely go and check that out if you are still waiting to complete your migration from 16 ETH validators to 8 ETH validators. Okay. Now, we all know that, with Saturn 0 going live, there was a part of it that was on-chain, and there was a part of it that was off-chain. Now, the on-chain part was the parameter changes that allowed you to create the validators without any ETH, and that was the 8 ETH validators, so you didn't need any RPL. The second part of that was making sure that everyone got the right rewards, and that was going to be done with the rewards tree version 10. Now, the rewards tree version 10 would give some amount of ETH that was in the smoothing pool to node operators who were staking with ETH only, to bring their rewards up to 10%, and then even more if they had more RPL as their collateral. Now, Patches is the one who's been working on this for over a month, and last night he said that his first version of the rewards tree 10 was done, and he's running it on the mainnet now. So this was really exciting. We want to make sure that it's done before the start of the next rewards period, so everyone can get their rewards on time. However, Patches hit some blocks, and he says back to the drawing board. So there was some it says percent win chance and percent vote. Oh, sorry, no, there was some issues basically with how the numbers came out, I guess, and I think that he's got to keep working on it. I don't fully understand the technical details, but you can follow the comments that I've just shown on screen by following the links in the description below. And if you still have questions, you can ask Patches. I think as a community, we were kind of figuring out yesterday that it's okay for the rewards in the next rewards period to maybe be a day or two late, just while we get everything ironed out. Hopefully it won't come to that, but I think that will be better than skipping a month of people only getting 5% when they might be expecting 10%, even though the RPIP kind of shows that it should be okay. But yeah, Patches is working hard on it. Well, he says hardish, but he's working on it, and hopefully, he's going to get that final version out soon, and then they can go on to the Rocket Pool testnet and run on there for a few days or a week or two, make sure everything's looking good, and then it'll be on mainnet for the next rewards period. Okay, the next thing to talk about is actually quite important. I want to talk about this is the rETH incubator. So this is still running. Actually, let me go here and let you all know what the rETH incubator is. So this is like a challenge that the community has set to make sure that, to share ideas on how we can mint more rETH, and then that being used as a way to go out there and act on these recommendations and on these ideas. And we just want a couple of paragraphs of your ideas. The deadline for this is November 8th on midnight UTC, or just before midnight UTC, on November 8th. And then there's like information how you can score and what the prizes are. So if you have a first tier recommendation that's first or second place, you get $2,000. If you have a second tier, which is third to fifth place, you get $1,000. And if you have a third tier, then you can have up to $250. So there's some really good prizes here that you can win. So please come and share your ideas of what you think, is a good way to boost rETH minting. Please read through the ideas that are already here, just to make sure that, you're not repeating ideas that someone else has already shared. But here we've got some new ideas that I want to share with you. Well, over the last week or so, the ideas that I want to share with you that have come in. So here we have Famous Allspice saying incentivize rETH's use as a collateral. So kind of says the biggest rETH holders Aave. Like if we can give them more incentives to use Aave, then people will use Aave. Here, Never on Island says put use cases on the Rocket Pool website, saying that the RPL DeFi sheet has good information, but it's not readable, it doesn't look authoritative or credible. And he says that there's an example on the ethereum.org website where you can go to use cases section. We should have something similar to that on the Rocket Pool website, where we have a lot of information about using rETH in DeFi and other things as well. And then he says more integrations with stablecoin minters. So how stablecoins are a really good use case for a collateral. So this is things like Gravatar, or even Maker, I think, used it for a while, so you could mint DAI and other things like that. Dr. Doofus here says Star Initiative, search, target, and request. So this is leveraging the community's knowledge and connections. And basically, it's an idea that you are tasked with locating DAOs, treasuries, and similar interests holding ETH, and through the forums, Discord, direct contacts encourage these institutions to mint rETH. In return, the intermediaries get rewards related to how far along the path to mint the organizers get. So there's an idea here about Surpoo, which was taking rETH with Rocket Pool organization outreach. This was a previous one that started in 2021 to generate rETH investments. There was two successes. One was with Nouns DAO and one was with Nexus Mutual. And Nexus Mutual actually staked 14,000 ETH with Rocket Pool based on this, which was absolutely phenomenal. The problem was that the deposit pool got full, and then it didn't work anymore. So that hit a huge roadblock. However, we're foreseeing that the deposit pool will have space, hopefully going forwards, but definitely from Saturn 1 and Saturn 2. So this was a really, really detailed and well thought out plan that Dr. Doofus has come up with. So there's different tiers of prizes and all sorts of different things that are kind of going on over here, and payments, that you can give to people based on this. But Dr. Doofus spent a lot of time thinking about this whole process and has kind of worked on it before as well. Madmat here says use Euler to allow looping strategies on rETH yield. So this is the deposit your rETH, borrow ETH, use the ETH to mint more rETH, then deposit that back into the protocol and do it over and over again. And the more times you do it, the riskier it gets. But the more times you do it, your rewards are basically the difference between the rETH yield and the ETH borrow rate. So if the ETH borrow rate is 2% and the rETH yield is 4%, for example, or it's not, sorry, let's just say 3%, then each time you loop it, you get an extra percent of rewards because, it's the rewards minus the fees. So if we have profitable strategies for that, that could work. That's one of the reasons why Jasper's so bullish about XRETH with looping, is because XRETH has a much higher yield, like 3.5% instead of 3%. So that yield becomes a lot more profitable. So if you loop it 8 times, you get 12% gains. Or if the rETH, if the ETH borrow rate is high enough, like 3%, then it's just not profitable to do all with rETH. Whereas with XRETH, it still is profitable to do it. So that's some interesting ideas there. And then here, Destroyer said integrate with CCIP to stake directly with Rocket Pool from layer 2s. We're going to be talking about that later as well. And then Celtic Warrior says 5 steps to driving rETH demand. I think this is just general ideas. Offer a higher yield, but this won't be possible until universally adjustable revenue split by reducing the commission on rETH. Then that would increase the yield potentially. Extend the utility of rETH by adding a rebasing version for different ways. Allows the market to choose which one they want. So just like Lido has STETH and then wrapped STETH, here rETH would have rETH, which is the base token, which is a value accrual token, and then like some kind of like a rebasing rETH, rRETH maybe, and then that goes up in numbers every day. So that's an interesting way to look at it there. And it says ensure that rETH is used by all the various staking services like Eigenlayer, Symbiotic, Garak, etc. And can earn points. Ensure that rETH yield markets are implemented on Pendle, and simplify the docs and explanations about how rETH works to encourage decentralization of Ethereum. So these are some more ideas that we've gotten in. There's still a week to go, so please get more ideas coming in. This is really big deal. I think that this is the project that can really impact the protocol in the next year, kind of like the tokenomics one that we worked on this time last year. Now the rETH one can impact the following year ahead in really big ways. So definitely contribute ideas to that. Okay, we were talking about AlphaGrowth yesterday and them trying to figure out what the contours of what the community want in terms of partnerships. Well, AlphaGrowth then actually came out and announced their own partnership with Rocket Pool. So here, well, not Rocket Pool exactly, but kind of with Rocket Pool. So it's AlphaGrowth said Rocket Pool and AlphaGrowth are on a growth mission. With such aligned missions, we are proud to announce the Rocket Pool Growth Program. Rocket Pool issued a $60,000 grant to AlphaGrowth for a 4-month trial of service. Sole objective is to expand rETH adoption. So this isn't actually technically with Rocket Pool, the protocol. This is with the DAO, which is the community run, this part of the GMC. So maybe some of that language could be made a bit clearer, but this is really great that they're doing this here. Dr. Doofus says this is a great use of Rocket Pool protocol DAO funds. The GMC is wise and good looking. And of course, Dr. Doofus is on the GMC. So yeah, he says, looking forward to this partnership, especially with the new changes to Rocket Pool, like ETH only mini pools. Time to mint rETH. And AlphaGrowth says big things to come for those that also believe in Rocket Pool. So this was really great to see. And if we go back to the Discord, we've got some follow-up information from the discussion that was taking place yesterday. So here, the Sadbroke director kind of clarified what they were doing. And he says, as we explore opportunities for rETH growth, I'd like to clarify the GMC informed us to support minting initiatives. Regardless of the entity minting the rETH, chain, DAO, or individual, Rocket Pool is expected to benefit. While there are valid concerns about Tron, it's essential that we define our boundaries and identify potential partners the DAO is comfortable with. By doing so, we can foster a more inclusive and diverse rETH ecosystem, driving growth and adoption. Additionally, I believe it's crucial we diversify our revenue streams beyond RPL inflation, ensuring the long-term sustainability of our community. I created this thread because I believe in open communication and want to work together to explore new opportunities and establish a framework for supporting rETH minting initiatives. Yeah, so then this conversation kind of went to trading today, where, I guess it's just a slightly more informal kind of community-only discussion. And Dr. Doofus says the thread seems somewhat hostile to the idea of any type of partnering to get rETH on Tron. Of course, I understand why. It could be great for rETH, though. I'm curious to hear more voices in that thread and how we could potentially mitigate, minimize, etc., hurting our reputation while also getting rETH minted in vast quantities on Tron. And then there was that actually led to a really interesting discussion about whether we want our ETH to go to different chains, because the IMC provided liquidity. If we fragment liquidity, it means that it'd be a bad user experience. Here in says without liquidity, having the token on other chains just causes buyers there to be ripped off. So what would happen is that suffer bad slippage. There'd be really bad trades that happen where people don't get as much rETH as they should be with their tokens. And then Jasper was kind of saying that it would be like embassies on different chains. And then the community kind of got talking to about Tron specifically, like what is good and what's bad with Tron. So Jasper here kind of did a steelman of Tron, saying that there's some in the Steelman, he talked about the good things about Tron. So he said, I can Steelman it for you. He says, Tron has the most real world use of any chain on Earth. It literally is the bedrock of stablecoin transfers in large parts of the world and provides more real utility than almost any chain. Becoming entrenched on Tron might be the stepping stone to becoming the LST of choice in multiple continents. Tron has held the TVL of over $50 billion in stablecoin and has not had any consensus issues, so safety concerns are likely overblown. So this, of course, was Jasper Steelmanning it. Meek replied by saying, Tron is also the chain for illicit finance and sanctions violations globally. Just saying. This discussion was kind of going back and forth, and the lines I think was if Tron want to here Joachim said what exactly is the ask here though? rETH's permissionless token. If they want to bridge it and use rETH there, I'm okay with that, I guess. And I replied by saying they're wondering how much we might be able to co-market or co-incentivize it. I said AlphaGrowth want to figure out what the community might or might not accept, and Jasper says we don't know what their ask is. AlphaGrowth will negotiate on our behalf. So this is interesting story that's still kind of bubbling around, and I think we'll see some developments on it in the coming days when AlphaGrowth come and tell us what the next steps are. Okay, here we're going to talk about Constellation for a second, and this is Gravita, of course, who are the people who run the instance of Constellation that that the node operators are using on NodeSet. And here they're replying to yesterday's Chainlink announcement about CCIP being used by staking services, and in the post it said that they're using GravETH, which was Gravita's ETH that was minted through Stakewise, that trial program, that they're doing with node operators. Well, Gravita here now is saying we cannot wait to enable the bridge for rETH. So it looks like hopefully in the near future you'll be able to interact with Gravita on layer 2 and mint xrETH directly from layer 2, which will massively reduce fees. And then on the back end, that Chainlink will be interacting with layer 1. I'm not sure of the full technicalities of it, but I think that's kind of what it's going to look like. Okay, next we got this update from the Rocket Rescue node, and the Rescue node here are saying, thanks to several contributions from the talented and industrious community member Snow, the Rescue node website now displays information to our users about how many credits they have used and have left after they send the access message, but before they submit it. Thanks, Snow. So here, if you have a look at the information, it says, you have used the Rescue node one time in the past 365 days. You currently have an active credential, which will expire at, November 3rd. And you have 3 usages remaining. Your next increase will be October of 2019, because that person who was testing and they just used it now. So this is actually really nice that the Rocket Rescue node is adding these features, and this one's thanks to Snow. So thank you, Snow. That's a huge shout out to you. I'm going to just give that a retweet. And finally, we're going to enter this episode with they bring broader and wider sentiment about Rocket Pool and people talking about it and people who are well reputed in the community. So here we have Ryan Berkman's talking about Rocket Pool and needing only 8 ETH to validate. He says Rocket Pool's new upgrade lets you stake from home with as little as 8 ETH, no RPL required. Rocket Pool is becoming seriously competitive, in my opinion. So I think that, one of the things that you have to remember is Rocket Pool, of course, is, all those like, Ethereum aligned value stuff, the decentralized, trustless, open source, permissionless, all of that good stuff. And now that it's making it even easier for node operators to not have to, speculate on the token at the same time, it's becoming, even better here, according to Ryan. And there's a lot more people talking about Rocket Pool as well. Like, for example, he put out this tweet saying Rocket Pool just dropped all RPL requirements. It's still open source, it's still trustless, it's still permissionless, it's still decentralized, it's still committed to being less than 22% of the network, but now you can participate with only Ether. The juggernaut is here. So people then were asking questions. This is Kyle from Gitcoin saying 8 ETH pools with no deposit. So he says, no, you still deposit ETH, but not RPL. And he says, that's what I meant. And then other people was talking about how, XRETH is really great as well. And there was some talk about like, the value for RPL holders. So here, Caesar says, nice, but not so much for RPL holders. And Alex replied by saying the fee switch will be nice though. So that will be pretty cool. And other people, like, just the kind of people who are interacting with Fizz's post here are different from the ones that, the usual faces we see inside the Rocket Pool community. And the kind of broader Rocket Pool community. So I think that there's like a sentiment shift that's kind of happening in the wider community, or at least the beginnings of it, where people are kind of paying attention to Rocket Pool, realizing that what Rocket Pool is doing is pretty cool, and being more supportive of Rocket Pool because of that. And of course, support begs new people joining, and new people joining begs TVL increases, and TVL increases, of course, will lead to the fee switch in Saturn 1 being much more successful. So I'm going to end today's episode on that note. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all enjoyed the episode, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.